Do you remember the Italian beauty who made audiences of the 1970s hold their breath with just a single glance? Blonde hair under dim lights, a slow smile as if the entire room already belonged to her. That was Barbara Bouchet, a symbol of sensual allure in Casino Royale, drifting briefly through Star Trek, then reigning over the Italian giallo genre. But the paradox is this: she didn't fall apart, didn't descend into scandal, didn't self-destruct. And because of that, popular history quietly turned its back. Why would a woman at the height of her fame choose silence while she was still beautiful? In an industry that remembers only tragedy, is survival the most expensive price of all? Barbara Bouchet's story begins there. Barbara Bouchet was born on August 15, 1943, in Reichenberg, Sudetenland, a Central European region torn apart by war and violent border shifts during World War II. Her childhood did not begin in stability, but in displacement and uncertainty. Barbara's family was forced to leave their homeland, flee to Germany, and later immigrate to the United States while she was still very young. Growing up across multiple countries, languages, and cultures shaped in Barbara an essential ability from an early age: adaptability. Long before she ever understood what stage lights were, she had already grown accustomed to not fully belonging to any single place, a feeling that would follow her throughout her life. Within her family, cinema appeared naturally, but was never romanticized. Barbara's grandfather owned a movie theater in Czechoslovakia. Her father worked as a cinematographer and photographer. Even so, she was not steered toward acting as a child. Instead, Barbara developed an early passion for ballet, a discipline that demands strict control, physical precision, and emotional expression through silence. Those years devoted to ballet trained Barbara to understand her body, rhythm, and restraint at a very young age. This was not an education designed for stardom, but a discipline centered on self-control, a foundation that later defined her screen presence: sensual without excess, alluring without display. Growing up in California, Barbara was exposed to the atmosphere of Hollywood early on, but only at a distance. She did not enter the entertainment world with clear ambition, nor did she nurture a dream of fame. As a teenager, she still saw herself primarily as a dancer in training, rather than someone destined to live her life in front of a camera. Barbara Bouchet's childhood, therefore, contained no dazzling, destined moments. It was shaped instead by war, migration, discipline, and silence. Quiet, but enduring forces that prepared her to be someone not easily broken, long before the entertainment industry truly entered her life. Barbara Bouchet's path to acting did not begin with an ambition to become a star. As a child, she believed she would be a ballet dancer, a pursuit rooted in discipline and control, not spotlight and applause. Cinema existed quietly at the edges of her life. Her grandfather owned a movie theater. Her father worked as a cinematographer and photographer. No one in the family ever pointed her toward Hollywood as a destination. The first turn came entirely by chance. While living in San Francisco, Barbara unexpectedly received a phone call informing her that she had won a contest she didn't even know she had entered. It was a Sandra Dee look-alike competition, an idea that already felt wrong since Barbara looked nothing like the all-American image Sandra Dee represented. Only later did she learn the truth. Her boyfriend had submitted a color photograph of her, a rarity at the time, and that photograph alone set her apart. The prize was a date with actor James Darren and a screen test in Hollywood. The screen test never happened. The date faded into silence. But for Barbara, something more important occurred. For the first time, a thought formed clearly. If the door had been promised, why not walk through it herself? That summer, at just 15 years old, Barbara asked her father for permission to go to Hollywood. She stayed at the home of an older friend, enrolled in Hollywood professional school, and then made a decision that stunned her parents. She did not return. Many years later, when her own son reached that age, Barbara finally understood how reckless that choice truly was. The early years in Hollywood held no magic. Barbara moved from one audition to another, landing tiny roles in films filled with major stars. She appeared alongside names like Marlon Brando, David Niven, Bob Hope, Robert Mitchum, and Tony Curtis, not to shine, but to observe up close how the industry functioned. For Barbara, each small role was a lesson. Who was protected, who was replaced, and how easily a young actor could lose themselves. A turning point came with her screen test for In Harm's Way. In a tense audition room, where the director's shouting left many in tears, Barbara reacted in a way that was distinctly her own. She set boundaries. No confrontation, no silent endurance, simply stating clearly what she would and would not accept. The result was unexpected. She got the role and signed a 7-year contract with Paramount. On paper, it was every young actor's dream. In reality, the contract quickly revealed the other side of Hollywood: financial security paired with creative stagnation. She was owned, but not developed. During the years bound by that contract, Barbara Bouchet came to understand a central paradox of Hollywood. The system is not afraid of talent. It is afraid of people who refuse to stay in place. As a young foreign actress unwilling to trade dignity for rapid advancement, Hollywood didn't quite know where to put her. She worked consistently, but was rarely challenged. Roles arrived on schedule, paychecks on time, yet none required her to dig deeper into herself. For many, that kind of safety would be a dream. For Barbara, it felt like suspension, neither moving forward nor falling apart. Looking around, she saw contemporaries willing to accept any compromise to hold their position. Barbara did not judge them. She simply knew that if she stayed, the first thing to erode would not be her career, but her self-respect. And that was not a price she was willing to pay. When she realized she was trapped inside a luxurious cage, Barbara chose what few dared to choose. She asked to be released from her contract, accepting uncertainty in exchange for the right to choose her own path. Leaving Hollywood did not fill Barbara Bouchet with a sense of failure. Instead, it left her with an unanswered question. If she did not belong here, then where did she belong? London, with its more open cinematic rhythm, became a temporary refuge. There, she stood between two options: to keep searching for a place within the old system, or to accept a different path, less secure but far more open. Her meeting with Michelangelo Antonioni for Blow Up did not result in a role, but it delivered something just as important: the realization that cinema was far larger than Hollywood. And in that moment, the offer for Casino Royale arrived, not as a rescue, but as a signal. No audition, no proving herself, just the invitation to step in at the right time. Barbara chose that step not because of James Bond's glamour, but because it freed her from the position of a young actress waiting to be defined. For the first time since entering the profession, she felt she was being invited, not assigned a place. When Barbara Bouchet arrived in Italy, she did not step into an easier film industry. She entered a system that demanded female performers carry central roles. The 1970s marked a period of violent transformation in Italian cinema. Directors were no longer searching for perfect stars, but for faces filled with contradiction, beautiful yet unsafe, familiar yet elusive. Giallo, social drama, crime films all required actresses capable of standing in moral gray zones, where characters were not written to be loved, but to be questioned. In that context, an actress like Barbara Bouchet foreign, disciplined, and unburdened by scandal, became an ideal choice. She was famous enough to secure box office confidence, yet not locked into a single, fixed image. Within just a few short years after moving to Italy, Barbara went from being a familiar but typecast presence to becoming an A-list actress of 1970s Italian cinema. Don't Torture a Duckling, 1972, was the true turning point. In 1972, Barbara Bouchet appeared in Don't Torture a Duckling by Lucio Fulci, a film now regarded as an artistic pinnacle of the giallo genre, but one that was considered a risk at the time of its release. Unlike many giallo films of the era that leaned heavily on shock and visual pleasure, Don't Torture a Duckling focused on the suffocating moral atmosphere of a rural Italian community. Violence was not treated as entertainment, but as a social accusation, superstition, hypocrisy, and collective indifference toward evil. Over time, critics came to view the film as a work that pushed giallo beyond the boundaries of pure genre entertainment. In that context, Barbara Bouchet's casting was a meaningful signal. Prior to 1972, her image in Italy still carried the imprint of the foreign sensual actress, a commercial asset, but also an invisible limitation. Don't Torture a Duckling did not need a decorative symbol. It needed faces capable of standing firm within a cold, oppressive, deeply unsettling atmosphere. Barbara's presence was therefore not inviting, but dramatically functional. What mattered most was this. In this film, sensuality was no longer the end point of the female character, but merely one layer of a larger human complexity. Barbara was not placed at the center for admiration, but to help generate unease, a space where every character might be hiding something. This marked a fundamental break from many of her earlier roles, and that difference reshaped how filmmakers viewed Barbara Bouchet. According to many Italian critics later on, Lucio Fulci's choice of Barbara Bouchet was far from obvious. Fulci was known for distrusting pure sex symbols. He needed performers who could hold silence at the right moment, stand still before the camera, and still produce unease. Barbara, with her ballet discipline and years spent observing Hollywood from the margins, met those demands precisely. On set, Barbara was not treated as a star meant to attract the gaze, but as a component within the film's bleak structure. No special protection, no image preservation, only the role and the oppressive atmosphere she had to withstand on her own. After Don't Torture a Duckling, Barbara began receiving offers for projects that required psychological control rather than mere physical presence. She was no longer seen simply as an imported sex symbol, but as an actress capable of functioning within complex film structures where female characters did not need to be liked, only believable. For a genre like giallo, where gaze, silence, and ambiguity are essential, this marked a crucial shift in professional standing. In other words, Don't Torture a Duckling did not turn Barbara Bouchet into a star overnight. It did something more lasting. It legitimized her seriousness within Italian cinema. From that moment on, Barbara was no longer invited because she was beautiful, but chosen because she fit. A small distinction on paper, but a decisive one in the arc of a long career. The year 1972 became the hinge of Barbara Bouchet's career. In the same year, she appeared at two opposite poles of Italian giallo. With Don't Torture a Duckling, Barbara entered a socially and morally charged work where beauty was no longer an anchor, but a source of unease. That same year, the Red Queen Kills 7 Times transformed her image into a visual icon of giallo. Cold, sensual, and haunting. Two films, two radically different uses of the same woman, completed Barbara Bouchet's definition not merely as a symbol, but as an actress of rare range. Alongside cinema, Barbara also conquered Italian, television, where her influence ran even deeper. From 1984 to 2001, she portrayed the wife of a mafia boss in the series La Piovra, one of the most important television series in Italian history. This role marked a complete transformation of her image, from a sensual icon to a powerful, ruthless, and commanding female figure. It was also the role that earned Barbara serious critical recognition, not just mass popularity. In terms of output, Barbara's Italian years were the most productive period of her life. Throughout the 1970s and 1980s, she appeared continuously in both major and minor film projects, becoming a reliable box office presence for producers. Crucially, she was never confined to a single type of role. She moved fluidly between giallo, drama, Italian comedy, and long-form television, a rarity for an actress once labeled a sex symbol. These achievements prove one thing clearly. Italy did not merely give Barbara Bouchet freedom. It gave her stature. In Hollywood, she was seen. In Italy, she was defined. Her career after leaving Hollywood was no longer a string of disconnected roles, but a unified phase with identity and historical weight. If Hollywood once viewed Barbara Bouchet as a face waiting to be shaped, Italian cinema treated her as a fully formed individual. In Hollywood, she was chosen for potential. In Italy, she was chosen for suitability. That distinction did not just change her roles. It changed how an actress could exist within the profession. Leaving Hollywood, therefore, was not a retreat from the summit. It was the search for a truer peak. And looking back at those milestones, one thing becomes clear. Barbara Bouchet did not disappear from the spotlight. She simply moved to a stage more worthy of her. If Barbara Bouchet's career was shaped by clear-headed decisions, then her personal life was where every choice carried its own cost. Quiet, but deeply felt. Barbara was never the kind of artist who lived loudly beyond the set. No endless parties, no shocking statements, no use of private life to keep her name circulating. When the lights went out, she withdrew, keeping her distance from the entertainment world in a way that almost ran counter to the industry's instincts. That discretion allowed her to endure, but it also made her personal life far lonelier than many imagined. In 1974, Barbara Bouchet married Luigi Borghese, an Italian film producer. The marriage did not exist on the margins of her career. It unfolded alongside the period when Barbara was at her peak in Italy. They had 2 sons together, including Alessandro Borghese, who would later become a well-known television chef. Family gradually became a parallel axis to her work. Luigi Borghese was not only her husband, but also involved in producing several of Barbara's later film projects, blurring the line between personal life and profession. For Barbara, this was not a sacrifice, but a form of controlled living, continuing to work without allowing her career to consume her role as a mother. The marriage lasted for decades before the couple separated in 2006, with the stated reason being differing life aspirations. No scandal, no public dispute, no detailed accounts from those involved. Its ending mirrored its beginning, discreet, orderly, and without the need for public witness. This experience helps explain why, afterward, Barbara Bouchet deliberately reduced her on-screen presence, choosing a slower and more private rhythm of life. Not because her career had run out of momentum, but because the center of her life had shifted, from spotlight to family, from roles to responsibility, from being seen to being present. After a marriage that spanned many decades, Barbara Bouchet did not remarry. Not because she lost faith, but because she no longer needed a framework to feel whole. In 1995, Barbara Bouchet's life crossed a point of no return. Her son, Christian Gnecco, died of a drug overdose at just 25, a loss for which no language is ever precise enough. For many public figures, this is usually the moment when a personal story is told, shared, turned into an explanation for everything that follows. Barbara Bouchet chose otherwise. She did not appear before cameras to speak about her grief. There were no interviews capturing tears, no memoir, no story told at the right time. In an entertainment world accustomed to consuming tragedy as content, Barbara's silence became abnormal, and for that very reason, more striking than any confession. After 1995, the change in her life did not arrive through a declared decision, but through rhythm. She continued working, but no longer chased dense shooting schedules. She still appeared, but selectively. Her later roles were less performative, often just enough to keep a thread connecting her to the profession, not to reaffirm status. This was not a sign of collapse, but of someone who had redefined what still mattered. During that period, Barbara Bouchet redirected much of her energy toward the body, not as image, but as refuge. Physical discipline, training, and tightly controlled daily routines became the new structure of her life. When words no longer felt safe, the body became the one thing she could govern. This was not escape, but a way of surviving loss. What stands out is this: Barbara never asked the public to understand her pain. She did not seek recognition as a mother who had lost a child. That choice, not telling, not explaining, not justifying, reflects a consistency in her character from beginning to end, refusing to let private life be defined by outside gaze. If the spotlight was once where Barbara Bouchet shone, then after 1995, silence became where she stood firm, not because the pain disappeared, but because it was kept in its proper place, not for the public, not for the media, but for the one who would carry it through the rest of her life. Notably, Barbara Bouchet has never narrated her life according to the order of tragedy. She does not look back on the past as a chain of losses, but as points that forced a person to learn how to live differently. There is no bitterness toward the entertainment industry, no need to prove how much she endured. Every upheaval is retained as an inner experience, never converted into public discourse. After that loss, Barbara Bouchet's sense of purpose focused entirely on her only remaining son, Alessandro Borghese, not as a symbol to lean on, but as a concrete reason to remain steady, to maintain discipline, and to never allow herself to collapse. Alessandro grew up outside the orbit of his mother's fame. Barbara did not guide him into cinema, did not bring him onto film sets, and did not use her name to clear his path. She maintained a boundary so firm it bordered on severity. A mother's reputation was not a ticket for a child's life. Alessandro was raised within that principle: independence, discipline, and the obligation to prove one's worth through personal ability. Alessandro's choice of cuisine over performance was not accidental. It was a different kind of harsh world. No protective spotlight, no lingering glamour, only skill, endurance, and reputation earned over time. And within that world, Alessandro Borghese rose to become one of Italy's most prominent television chefs, the central figure of 4 ristoranti, an influential format in which he serves as judge, decision-maker, and standard setter. His success is not tied to family legacy, but to a professional position he built himself. It is here that Barbara Bouchet's pride and happiness become most visible, even though she never names them. She does not appear beside her son to share the spotlight, does not tell a story of the mother who sacrificed, does not turn Alessandro's success into proof of pain endured. Yet the fact that her remaining son stands firmly in public life through his own ability serves as a quiet confirmation. Life, even after shattering, can be restructured in a healthy way. In the rare moments Alessandro speaks about his mother, he does not mention fame or sensual roles. He speaks of discipline, of a woman who always controlled her private life, who knew when to step back, and who never allowed personal tragedy to break the structure of the family. Conversely, Barbara has never used her son's success to retell her own grief. She keeps that relationship within the private realm, where motherhood does not require an audience. If career once stood at the center of Barbara Bouchet's life, then after 1995, family, and specifically her remaining son, became the sole anchor, not in a melodramatic spirit of sacrifice, but through transforming loss into responsibility. She continues to live with discipline, health, and discretion, refusing to become a burden, refusing to let pain define her, and refusing to let the spotlight determine the value of happiness. The price of that choice has been misunderstanding. To part of the public, Barbara Bouchet seemed to disappear precisely when she should have told her story. There was no personal climax to keep media attention, no image of a wounded woman to generate mass empathy. Yet that very absence reveals most clearly what Barbara never accepted: allowing private life to be consumed as part of fame. At this point, Barbara Bouchet's story is no longer the story of a film star. It becomes the story of a mother who finds peace in watching her child stand firmly in the world, a quiet form of happiness, but one deep enough to replace any applause. Barbara Bouchet's legacy is not measured by how many of her films are still replayed, but by the way she shifted the position of women within cinematic spaces that were never designed for them. In Italian giallo, Barbara Bouchet represents a crucial turning point. She appeared at the moment when the genre began moving away from pure visual gratification toward a more ambiguous territory, where crime, morality, and the collective gaze collide. The female characters she portrayed no longer existed to be possessed or punished. They existed as disruptive forces, making audiences uneasy about judgment itself. This was a quiet but formative contribution, especially in how giallo later approached the image of mature women. On television, Barbara Bouchet's influence was even more structurally defined. La Piovra demonstrated that female power did not need to be softened to become acceptable. Her character did not ask for sympathy, did not require redemption, and was not reduced to a supporting role in a male tragedy. That sustained presence established a precedent for middle-aged female characters with depth and authority, something exceedingly rare in Italian mainstream television before that point. Yet, Barbara Bouchet's most enduring influence exists beyond the screen. In an industry that treats exposure as a condition of survival, she chose the opposite path, withholding, retreating, and controlling the rhythm of her own visibility. As a result, her career didn't end in decline or scandal, but in something far rarer: the ability to stop while still intact. Barbara Bouchet didn't leave behind a noisy legend. She left a precedent that a woman can move through fame, loss, and time without trading away dignity or turning pain into consumable narrative. It is a form of legacy that is not immediately visible, but the further one steps back, the clearer it becomes. In the present day, Barbara Bouchet has not disappeared from cinematic life. She simply appears differently. No longer bound to dense shooting schedules or roles that must prove anything, Barbara chooses to be present selectively, at the right moment and in the right capacity. In recent years, she has continued to appear at major Italian film events, notably the Rome Film Festival, where Barbara walks the red carpet not as a star in need of rediscovery, but as a piece of film history being honored. She has also taken part in symbolic projects such as Diabolic, Who Are You? 2023, in roles suited to her age and stature, understated yet sufficient to affirm that her connection to the craft has never been severed. Alongside this are interviews and conversations at film festivals and cinematic forums, where Barbara shares her professional experience as a witness to multiple eras of cinema. She does not recount her life as a story seeking sympathy, but as a journey carefully arranged, free of excess emotion. What leads audiences today to speak of Barbara Bouchet is not only her past, but the way she inhabits the present. In her 80s, Barbara retains a graceful, natural beauty, unforced and unmanufactured. There is no trace of clinging to time, no overly polished image. It is a beauty born of discipline, composure, and the acceptance of age as part of identity rather than something to be concealed. Barbara Bouchet today does not need leading roles or the spotlight. She appears just enough to be recognized and steps away before becoming nostalgia. Timeless beauty is not about looking younger than one's age, but about refusing to fight time. And it is precisely this choice that gives Barbara's image, though quiet, its own distinct weight. Barbara Bouchet's story does not end in decline, nor is it trapped in past glory. It ends and continues with a rare decision, knowing when to step out of the light in order to preserve what matters most for oneself. In an industry that constantly encourages exposure, Barbara chose silence without disappearing. Between loss and time, she chose discipline, dignity, and peace. It is not an easy path, but it is the one that allows her story to remain meaningful today. What do you think of a life that does not need noise to be remembered? For you, what is true success? Being seen forever, or knowing when to stop at the right moment? Share your thoughts in the comments. If you appreciate life stories told with depth and respect, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel to join us on the journeys ahead.